when you staff in the community, one of the things I've been an administrator, ED, in large CCRCs, independent assisted living, and at times you always need staff. And so one of the things I always wanted to know is when the staff coming in, how are they going to mingle with my staff? How are they going to represent me and their agency? And what does my staff integrate with them? And then also, do they leave a lasting impression with us? So, Chris, if you go to the next slide, I would appreciate it. Okay. One of the things that I always expected from my own employees and also from folks I've hired to supplement my staffing is to show up for duty on time. That, in fact, if you can get there early, that's even better. It just shows that you're ready to work, ready to go, and ready to contribute to that team you're adopting for a while, or maybe you're going to be there for a couple of weeks, depending on their staffing. But show up on time and be ready to work. And this is one of my pet peeves. The next one is have a proper uniform. I've had folks who have hired to come in that showed up in blue jeans and a t-shirt. And, when you go up to them and ask them, who are you, what you do? Well, I'm Susie from ABC agency. I usually sent them home because I'd rather be down one less person with someone who's not properly dressed and doesn't have a name tag. Excuse me. And depending on what state you are, I only know Florida very well. If you don't have a name tag, that is a problem for surveyors if they happen to come into your building and you don't have a name tag. Also, be interactive. Just, show up on time, have your uniform on, name tag, and ask what your assignment is. And make sure you talk to the supervisor, who is the supervisor that night or day or whenever the time is you're there. But ask for what your assignment is. If the CNAs are making assignments, I can guarantee you'll probably get the worst assignment. And maybe you'll get 2 assignments because they don't want to do more work than they have to, so they'll put it on there. So always get a supervisor involved. Ask who the supervisor is and make sure your assignment is proper with the rest of the crew there. That shows that building, that community that you're in, that you're ready to work, you're integrating, you want to do a great job, and you're going to be positive for them. Next slide, Chris, please. Always ask the supervisor or other workers there, ask if there's any residents that need special care, or is there a special way to approach a resident? As we talked about dementia and Alzheimer's and, maybe particular residents, you need to know that if you're there. And the community expects you to provide the care that our normal staff would do. So it's always great to ask if these folks need special care or special approach. We had one resident that I worked with before. You had to approach him on the right side because he was deaf in his left ear and he couldn't hear you if you came on his left side. So we would always tell oncoming staff, please go on his right side because he will hear you then and also see you. Also, the next one is review the code procedures. One of the things that we do in Florida particularly, if you have a fire drill, you're expected to know what the drill is. If there is a actual fire or a surveyor comes in, you're expected to know that drill and that policy and procedure to do that. So ask, because they're not going to stop and tell you. Also a code blue, depending if you're in a independent ALF or even a SNF setting, that code blue status may be a different drill for each building, but you need to ask because they're going to ask you to participate in that. So just ask. We used to also have a little orientation packet for all the new folks that came in. We signed them up. That's all right, Chris. That was fine. So you knew, and we had some documentation that you did know the procedures and how to do it. Florida is a very regulatory state, and we do a lot of things that a lot of other states do. I also have a positive attitude. One of the things I really maybe not use an agency over another agency was, we had these, as I call them, poo birds or puny birds, who would come in the building and drag everybody else down because they just weren't really good CNAs and not positive. Also remember that you are there to assist them in their staffing crisis. You're of value to them. You're a great addition to them, and you can help them provide the care that they want to provide to their residents as well. Always be helpful and available to other staff, the community staff, the assistant staff, and remember just to be best that you can be. You work for a place at home not because you're mediocre or you're average. You're the best people in this profession. And as presenters said before me, you guys, you do a great job. As I always say, you do this as a vocation, not an occupation. And this is where you can shine through with some folks here that may not share those same values with this. So to me, you're a role model, and you can be able to maybe change some minds when they see you, how positive you are. You're helping them out, where some of their peers or their coworkers won't even do that. Chris, next slide, please. Also be professional. That's one of the things we need to pride ourselves on. It. My short time with the place at home, everybody here that I've talked to and looked at some of their staff, you got to be professional. That means you show up on time. You have the proper uniform and name tag. Take pride in your work. Home care is a little bit different than more institutional settings. You are one-on-one, and your pride in your work shows in your clients' results. In some of these communities, they don't have that pride and just a bunch of people, but we would like you to take pride in your work. And to be honest with you, that's why you work for us. Also, like a good guest that you're in their house, when you leave this assignment, we want them to remember you as an added value of their team. Say goodbye to your supervisor, or say goodbye to the aide that helped you out. Once again, just be that professional person to do that, because you're adding value to their crisis that they're in. Next slide, please. When you go into a building or a community that has a staffing crisis, the CNAs there and other personnel are not happy because they're always working short. We're working short. And even though you're there to help them, they may not be happy that you're there to help them out. So they may not be as welcoming to you as you may think they are. That's why you need to be the professional person. You need to be the positive person. You interact with them and get them to help you with what you need. Make sure you get that clear assignment, and make sure it's equal to the rest of the staff. Because over my years of experience, they tend to load up on the extra person that's come in. Not even an extra person, the staff agency person that's come in, because they're here, they can do more work than we can. Also, as being a professional, if there's a charting or documentation you have to do, make sure you do it. Make sure you chart and document all the information you need during your tour of duty. It helps them out with their care of the patient later on. And it also just shows, again, once that you're a respected worker and you take pride in your work, and it all goes back to that professional and positive attitude. Next slide, Chris, please. When you leave, make sure, like a polite guest, make sure you check out with the supervisor before you leave. One of the things that, and I learned this from another agency that I had staffing from, their staff would come and thank us for allowing them to take care of our residents. And I thought that was just the coolest thing. They would thank the staff they work for. They would thank their supervisor. And if they're exiting out of the community by my door, they would stop and thank me for having them take care of our residents. And even the director of nurses, that just made an impression on me that I think that is what we need to do. It also helps us to keep that community as a client. So they'll be asking for our staff, because our staff is positive, shows up on time, makes a positive impact, and we're grateful for their business. So I was very impressed with that, and I'm going to install that in my franchise here in Orange Park. Chris, next. So why do we do this, or why do we have the staffing? We wouldn't hire if we're not a professional caregiver. As I've looked through the chats, statements, that's what the recurring thought process I have talking, reading what you guys have talked about, how you care for your your current clients, how you take pride in your work. And that's why we've hired you. That's why your owners have hired you. The franchise folks have picked you out. I'm sure, it's not necessarily, they got a lot of applications, but you seem to be drawn to this work. They recognize that, and that's why they hired you. So that's the lasting impression we want to leave on with the folks that we supply staffing to, that we are the premier provider. We hire quality people, and that's why we send them out to help those communities. So, you take pride in your work. And as I said earlier, the last thing is, this work is your vocation and not your occupation. And I firmly believe that. I believe all the Ricks and Chris's and Jerome's and Alex's. I mean, Alex even said it. This is a very important, job for him, profession, and you feel the passion and compassion that he has there to do that. So it's definitely his vocation. It's also been mine.